Dear Court, there's been a strange screeching out in the distance every night, ever since the great serum mix occurred. I don't know what it is, but it sounds like it's getting closer each and every night, and it terrifies me. I want to tell somebody, but I can't accept the denial if I'm wrong. I'm not a crazy person. I cannot go around saying I hear these things if I really don't. But I do hear them. It's louder and more focused now than ever. I look out towards the dense silent night at the forest line and the pathway that leads to my gate. There's nothing. The wind blows my gate door and makes the forest trees crash their leaves and branches against each other, but other than that, no movement, no other noises. Every night I've waited, looked out my window until I hear that screech again. It's louder, until eventually it seems to be just barely out of sight. The next night I waited out again. I braved myself enough to open the window and peer my head out. The breeze was frigid and the wind rushed its own cry against my ears. But as I began to close the window, I saw it. This pale white creature that swooned gracefully with a face unrecognizable. It seemed to have a swarm of bugs behind it, or something. I don't even know if I can describe it. I saw it brush past behind a tree. I shut my window and contemplated if I ever even saw it. The next morning I checked the area where I saw the creature. Nothing out of the ordinary at first glance, but inspecting the tree and ground it was on, it showed certain leaves more decayed than others, and the tree it fled behind had its bark aged and falling off. Only that one section of the tree, and nothing else. The next night I heard it again, closer still. I didn't look. I didn't want to. The next morning my outside gate fence was torn to shreds. Bugs were crawling out of the well next to it, and my dog's leash was torn and he was covered in ticks. I gave him a bath, and then afterward I decided that this was enough. I'm going to catch this thing on camera once and for all. Then I could prove I'm not crazy, and that this is actually real. That night I got my camera ready and began the videotape recording. Not too long the screech teared through the night, and I saw the being by the car. Oil and water began leaking from under my car, then the tires popped. These leeches and moths came pouring out of it like it was made out of it, and they all swarmed everywhere to the claws. They ate away all the hanging laundry and wrecked everything else in the yard. Its blank face never showed emotion. It merely opened its jaws and fed its ravaged children. My camera made a click and the thing turned directly towards me. The single red dot in its eye dropped an ocean of uncertainty. It crashed down into a large pile of insects, leaving a dark black trail. It swarmed over to my window. I immediately shut it and hid on my bed. It reached the window and I could hear the aggressive buzzing of bees, flies, and wasps. I could hear the ticking of their steps on the glass and the knocking of their stings. The window cracked. It cracked again. And again. It grew to crack the window until it finally shattered an entire side. They swarmed on the side of my bed, then stopped. I couldn't see it with it being so low to the ground, with the exception of the few flies and gnats. The creature arose slowly from the foot of the bed. Its gaze petrified me again. Frozen. It climbed over the bed, over my body, until it stared down at me, face to face. It made no noise except for the insects crawling out of its mouth and hair. It dripped something from its mouth and eyes. It then exhaled a gas from its mouth on my face. I almost passed out from the smell of death itself. It was about to move again, but just then my alarm clock went off and it instantly collapsed into a swarm again and rushed out the window into the night. I saw a doctor afterwards. The thing did not leave me unscarred. I've been diagnosed with lung cancer and a few other illnesses. I've only got a few months left. But I can tell you now, Court. I can tell you now that I'm not crazy. It's real. I don't know if this thing was intentional, straight from Sector White's laboratories. If it was a mistake, but it's here. And I've seen it. I've seen it myself. The face of Pestilence.